This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene at the end of each episode, or join us for our monthly movie club Zoom call where we discuss a film together, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopture.
Good morning, Richard.
Good afternoon.
No? Well, Richard has thrust me out of bed, said, AJ, where are you? I need to record.
Well, I just am ready at the time we agreed upon.
Did we say 12?
We said midday.
Midday. That's not even 12:30.
Is this a genuine thing from you that you're
no, I think it would have been helpful to know what time you had till. I don't think you told me that.
Right.
I think if I sound a little flustered, it's because I was asleep 15 minutes ago.
And I was patiently waiting to start the record.
Well, I was sleeping in because I was up quite late last night planning this episode that we're going to do today on film franchise Fortnights on the Cult Popture podcast. My name is AJ. I haven't had my coffee today. Let's see how this madness goes. Richard, have you had your coffee today?
No, I don't really drink coffee that much.
What? All right. Well, you're better than me, clearly. Limping slowly towards the finish line as if we were the Pharaoh Charis himself, we end our ancient Egyptian pilgrimage that has been the Mummy franchise this week. And after a month of episodes discussing the undead universal monster IP in its many different forms, cannons, and bandages...
UP in its many different forms.
Yep. There we go. I had a joke as well, but it doesn't matter. It's lost in the I probably made my joke quieter so people could hear your joke because I'm sacrificial like that.
Can't even get up on time, but
this week we've taken somewhat of a left turn into the wider Mesopotamia for a strange technicality within the Mummy universe, the 5 films in the Scorpion King spin-off series, which exists as part of the larger Stephen Sommers Mummy universe, more well known for The Mummy 1999, The Mummy Returns, and The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Empire. It's technically a spin-off to The Mummy Returns. Yeah, I even wrote Emperor. I even changed it from Empire to Emperor 3 times when I mentioned it in this episode plan. So this is the Scorpion King's like the bad guy at the end of The Mummy Returns, and this is the prequel about that guy in ancient West Africa, I guess. The 5 Scorpion King films take place approximately 5,000 years before he shows up as the final boss in The Mummy Returns, beginning with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson reprising his role for the lone theatrical release of the spin-off series in 2002 with The Scorpion King, though he would not return for its follow-up films, the most recent of which mind-bogglingly dropped on VOD in 2018, technically making the Sommers Mummy universe outlast the Tom Cruise-led Dark Universe film in 2017. And one of those rare examples where a franchise returns to an older canon after rebooting it. I doubt they were in conversation in this case. They probably didn't realize, but technically all these films are canon to The Mummy. So the films we'll be talking about today include The Scorpion King in 2002, its prequel, The Scorpion King 2, Rise of a Warrior in 2008, then 3 more sequels, The Scorpion King 3, Quest for Power in 2012, The Scorpion King 4, Battle for Redemption in 2015, and finally The Scorpion King Book of Souls in 2018. With this we have what I believe is film franchise Fortnight's first and maybe the world's only sequel to a sequel to a sequel to a prequel to a spin-off to a sequel to a remake, which every entry on IMDb updates the chain and the trivia.
Although, Yeah, it is a little bit even muddier than that because Scorpion King 2 is a prequel to Scorpion King 1, but then Scorpion King 3 is a sequel to that prequel more than it's a sequel to Scorpion King 1.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think. And, well, actually, no, I would disagree, actually. I think it's way more acknowledging the events of the original Scorpion King film.
Well, it's more just that they're like fucking trash and lost their budget.
Sure.
Like, so it's like...
I don't know if I mentioned that. These are all fucking trash.
The Scorpion King 2, 3, 4, and 5 are more of a package than the first one.
Yes, sorry, yeah. Right, yes, no, I agree. In the sense that they are the money grubbing straight to DVD sequels.
Yeah.
So we'll begin talking about that first film, the theatrically released Scorpion King in 2002, released 1 year after The Mummy Returns, which means that they would have planned to make this before The Mummy Returns had come out.
Yeah.
They were that confident in this new actor they'd discovered, some professional wrestler that calls himself the Rolling Stone or something like that. But this was directed by Chuck Russell, who has directed 2 other films that we've covered on Film Franchise Fortnights. Both, I would argue, are a lot better than this film. Can you guess what they are?
Chuck Russell. I recognize the name, but can you give me some kind of clue?
One is part of a previous Redux we've done. And one is not really known as being a franchise. It's just got a famous film that Chuck Russell directed, and then what a lot regard as one of the worst films of all time as its sequel.
So he direct a Freddy vs. Jason film?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, which one?
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Like one of the
good one.
Top films, yeah.
And the Look Who's Talking.
No, The Mask. He directed The Mask,
nice.
Which it's strange to be like, I guess I didn't know who directed The Mask until this. I kind of thought I would know the name, but I didn't.
Yeah. Interesting filmography.
Yeah, it is. What does the Scorpion King have on Rotten Tomatoes?
Like 30.
It is 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that won't matter for this episode. What will matter is its audience score, which is 38%, because none of the other movies have critic scores.
It felt like one of those.
We're back doing what we do best, making our lives a lot worse by trying to watch really bad sequels. So, what is the Scorpion King about?
Scorpion King. In ancient Gomorrah, thousands of years before the pyramids, the remaining free nomadic tribes are forced to form an uneasy alliance to put an end to mighty King Memnon's reign of tyranny. One of the few survivors and the last of the Akkadians, the brave assassin Mathias, is entrusted with the impossible task of executing Memnon's fortune-telling sorceress Cassandra, only to find himself up against a seemingly indestructible evil army. Now, with the help of his powerful new allies, including the great warrior Balthazar, Mathias returns to the legendary city to infiltrate Memnon's impenetrable fortress in the desert and exact his revenge. And then becomes the Scorpion King.
Well, sort of. It's a strange... It's not... If you go, right, we're making a Scorpion King movie, I don't think it's the movie I thought it would be. Like, it's not really about how he became the character we see in the prologue of The Mummy Returns, where he's, winning battles
Commanding an army
for
and
decades. Yeah.
It's interesting because my review of this film would be, it's exactly what you fucking think it is.
Right. No, that's another way to put it. And I guess both ways make sense to me.
Yeah.
This is our second multi-part franchise in a row to feature Michael Clarke Duncan after he showed up in Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. So he plays Balthazar in a role which proves that, like, The Rock in this film, this is The Rock's first leading man role, and he makes Michael Clarke Duncan look like probably a better actor than he was, because Michael Clarke Duncan is so much better than anyone else in this movie, I thought.
Michael Clarke Duncan's good.
I know, but I've never specifically thought of him as like this incredible actor until watching him act off fresh from the WWE Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What did you think of this movie?
I thought it was garbage.
Mm-hmm. I liked your Letterboxd review. What did that say?
What did it say?
Shall I just say it, or do you want the clout?
Have you got it written down or something?
No, I just remember what you said.
What did I say?
You said something like, "If you like this movie, you're a bad person."
I think that might have been for the second film. I said that.
I don't think it was, because I would have been upset, because the second film was my favourite of the 5.
Wow.
Although I wouldn't say I liked
Oh
it.
yeah,
So
I said this movie is garbage and you're a bad person if you like it. It was for the first one.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
The second one I said
terrible
fuck
film.
this garbage.
Terrible film. The screenplay, I was heartbroken to discover, was co-written by Stephen Sommers himself, casting a very large shadow over my suggestion last week that Stephen Sommers gets it. Because this movie does not get it.
Yeah.
This movie does not fucking rock. This movie is... So I thought this was so bad. I must have seen it before. At some point, me and my brother must have watched The Scorpion King because of its tenuous relationship with these movies we loved. And because I knew what happened.
And the fact that it's only a year later, it's like...
Yeah. I remember we must have had The Mummy Returns on VHS, and before it was a trailer for The Scorpion King. And I remember being like 8 years old and not really understanding what a spin-off was, and just being like, why is this random guy I'll never see again who played The Scorpion King, why is he talking? He doesn't talk in the movie. What's going on? So aside from just being piss poor action and an abysmal performance by this random dude playing the Scorpion King, this was actually during a time when he was legally still allowed to be called The Rock. This is pretty interesting. Vince McMahon owns the trademark of The Rock and is credited as an executive producer on The Scorpion King for the exclusive purpose of being able to say starring The Rock, which is interesting now because it feels like Dwayne Johnson. I haven't heard Dwayne Johnson refer to himself as The Rock in years. Like, it's like he doesn't want anyone to call him that anymore, even though everyone still calls him that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's also a fucking gross movie, everybody. A massive part of the plot revolves around the only main female character's virginity. The Cassandra, who's the soothsayer or the fortune teller, if she loses her virginity, she can't use her fortune-telling powers anymore, and Mathias has sex with her. He takes her. He takes the property of Memnon and corrupts it. And after that, she's no longer able to use her fortune-telling abilities, and this perpetuates that super damaging, like, you know, the like romanticization of a woman's virginity. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is something that I believed for a long time, was that like that there was a
the chewing gum metaphor.
Yeah, sure. Tell me
so
that.
This is something that's like, I believe, is taught in like American sexual education, is that like, yeah, you're a piece of chewing gum if you're a woman. Obviously, this doesn't apply to men. And
Who
so
are people.
yeah. That you imagine a piece of chewing gum. It's like, once you've chewed it, i.e., lost your virginity, it's essentially worthless. It's still technically a piece of chewing gum, but who the fuck would want this gross piece of chewing gum that someone else has already chewed? And that's you, little girls. I was gonna say boys and girls, but no, the boys get the fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and like, I've only learned recently, like in the last 4 years, that like my understanding of a hymen was incredibly accurate, and like the term, incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, right.
Yeah, I just had this really progressive knowledge of women's anatomy. No, quite the opposite. The term like pop your cherry.
Do you want to explain it to us then?
The term pop your cherry has done a lot in the way of muddying the water. It's like, the hymen doesn't break. It's a stretching. I wouldn't call it a muscle, but it's something that for plenty of girls is quote unquote broken at several times during their life, and is not a breaking of a seal as if they were a Capri Sun. So anyway, all of this to say that this movie was probably left its impression on the 15-year-old WWE fans who would have hooned this back in the early 2000s. You know? Like, those boys are the ones that watch this movie and be like, "Fuck yeah, he took her virginity," and It's gross. And Stephen Sommers, I'm so disappointed in you, bro. What are you doing?
He doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it. What the fuck?
What the actual fuck?
What are your thoughts on Dwayne Johnson in this movie?
This is interesting because, the map of Dwayne Johnson's career that, you can actually, I mentioned this last week, but, if Jungle Cruise coming out this year is, your textbook what Dwayne Johnson does now. He's a beefcake, he's self-aware, he's in a jungle. And then in 2001/2002, when this came out, this was the start of his career, and it was very much the raised eyebrow and the I'm a former wrestler turned actor. But then in 2011, in the exact middle point of these two, he started to do interesting things, and that's why we got his character in Fast Five. And it's he actually tried, and it's funny that he's come back around to this style of acting of just being I'm just playing myself in every film, just give me the paycheck. Right. But it's he's now got the charisma to kind of back it up, and the acting ability as well, I'll say.
Right, what The Rock is cooking is now smelt by the general public.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing him try to do what he's doing now, but before he could act.
Yes, no, that's a good way to put it. He had a $5.5 million salary for this film and made the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest salary of a first-time leading man.
That's really interesting.
Overpaid, I think, for the work he gives. What are your thoughts on how he becomes the Scorpion King? Do you remember how this happens in the movie? The movie's it doesn't even mention scorpions until it becomes very relevant, and then it sort of leaves you with the implication that he'll one day be called the Scorpion King because of something that happens. Do you remember this?
Yeah, because it's all about fulfilling a prophecy, and they try to make it maybe it's not going to be Mathias, but then it's well, this is a prequel.
He gets pricked with an arrow dipped in scorpion venom.
And and then they're well, you're the Scorpion King now, and it's okay.
Well, it's because the venom now runs through his veins. He gets healed by Cassandra because he's gonna die. She heals him, and now but now the scorpion venom will forever run through your veins, which I will say was probably the coolest part of the movie. I thought just that idea that he's symbolically part.
The coolest part of the movie is when he is buried up to his neck, and they set scorpions on him. Or is it fire ants?
No, fire ants.
Yeah. They set fire ants on him, and he is picking them up and crushing them between his teeth and trying to yeet them with his mouth.
Yeah, that was good. I could see that exact scene being in a modern day Dwayne Johnson movie.
Yeah, for sure. Or in a Brendan Fraser mummy movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Stephen Sommers must have
he
only
does
written
get
that
it.
scene.
The other interesting person as well, I remember seeing that David Hayter, voice of Solid Snake and writer of Watchmen, wrote some of the
movie.
Well.
Yeah, not the book. We're not allowed to say who wrote the book.
Why not?
Oh, he doesn't want his name. Whenever Watchmen is adapted, it says co-written by Dave Gibbons. It doesn't mention Alan Moore. It's a pretty clever joke, I gotta say. If you knew this, you would have laughed, I think.
Well, I don't get it.
What do you still not get it?
Wait, so Alan Moore...
So Alan Moore hates adaptations of his things. He regrets selling the movie rights to basically everything he sold the movie rights to. And as a result of that, whenever one of his works is adapted, his name is not in the credits.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there actually was a real Scorpion King. I found this out, or a King Scorpion, who was a proto-dynastic leader in, I guess you couldn't say pharaoh because it's proto-dynastic, in Egypt. So that was interesting. But what's even more interesting is that Bill Hader was a PA on this film. He's credited as William T. Hader Jr., and it was his last PA job on a movie because he hated doing it and quit. Which this was IMDb trivia, and I cross-referenced it with Bill Hader's filmography, and it's true. This was the last film he was a PA for.
Wow. I wish it would be cool to get some real insight into the life of a PA on a film set.
Yeah, if only maybe in the next week we could get an interview with a production assistant.
Well, okay, you I was being playful. You got too specific. Obviously, that's not going to happen.
The Mummy series is continuing continuing to make me doubt the wisdom of Roger Ebert. We learned last week that Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which I've ironically written Empire, was the best mummy of the Mummy trilogy. He gave it 3 out of 4 stars. He also gave The Scorpion King 3 out of 4 stars, which is more than he gave The Mummy Returns. And here's what he wrote. Here is a movie that embraces its goofiness like a get-out-of-jail free card. The plot is recycled...
That's the smart way of saying it's a turn-off-your-brain movie.
The plot is recycled out of previous recycling jobs. The special effects are bad enough that you can grin at them, and the dialogue sounds like the pre-pyramidal desert warriors are channeling a Fox sitcom. For its target audience looking for a few laughs, martial arts, and stuff that blows up real good, it will be exactly what they expected. It was high energy, the action never stops, the dialogue knows it's funny, and The Rock has the authority to play the role and the fortitude to keep a straight face. I expect him to become a durable action star, which is interesting that he was right about The Rock but wrong about everything else. It is a turn your brain off movie, but the bad kind. I don't think it is fun. He's saying it's so dumb but it's such a good time. I disagree.
This is a turn off your brain movie, and that I wanted to slip into a coma and die.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. I thought this was so bad. So bad!
Yeah.
I got some dumb IMDb trivia for us here.
Sure.
So over on IMDb, the trivia is user submitted, which means it's often very dumb. In the opening scene, the barbarian chieftain toasts to having killed Babylonians and Mesopotamians. These are the same people. I feel like that's like saying Aucklanders and New Zealanders, because I think Babylon is a place within Mesopotamia. Speaking of, though, I did like the opening shots of this film. Is probably the high watermark of the whole thing, which is
whole
when
franchise.
it's just like these shots of these snowy hills, and then like a bad guy walks into frame and his head fills the frame, and then an axe hits him in the head. And I remembered that, so I must have seen this before. But I that's probably the cool. That feels like the second thing that Stephen Sommers would have written. That and the fire ants
clinging
scene.
On to. Trying to
it's
think
possible. It's absolutely possible. And as someone who can notice his trademarks, that I guess that's why I think.
I'm sure you
that
can.
Some things feel more sommery than others. All right, next piece of dumb IMDb trivia. Some consider this film an unofficial adaptation of the Conan the Barbarian stories.
Okay. People can think whatever they want.
Yeah, right? Some consider... Okay, they're wrong.
Yeah.
It's not. You idiot. Why is this? I don't care what other people think. That's not a piece of trivia. That's something you thought up, person who wrote that trivia. And finally, when filming the fight between Mathias and Balthazar, Dwayne Johnson accidentally elbowed Michael Clarke Duncan in the jaw and knocked the actor out for 5 seconds. Duncan went to makeup and had them stuff his mouth with cotton to make his face look swollen. Duncan pretended he couldn't continue filming because Johnson had really messed up his face. Johnson felt extremely bad, thinking he'd really hurt Duncan. When the entire cast found out it was all a prank, they all laughed at Johnson. In a later take, Duncan ad-libbed, "And we pray you never hit me like that again." Johnson and the cast cracked up laughing. I can't imagine Dwayne Johnson being okay with something like this happening on one of his film sets these days. This feels directly lifted out of the feud book. Dwayne Johnson.
And just one of his little fragile ego. Oh, poor me, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah, he's a friggin' weenie now. It's
you used to be cool somewhere in between the Scorpion King and Jungle Cruise.
Straight up, between starting this podcast and now, he used to be cool as well. When we did stand up together, I had a whole routine about how much I liked The Rock. and a whole.
I wouldn't be
whole
caught
bit.
dead doing that now.
Yeah, God knows. Like now, I'd do the opposite, and yeah, no, he's it's just,
I incidentally had a stand-up bit about where I made fun of Vin Diesel, and now they're both probably swirled into the same shitty strawberry ripple. The second film we watched, Richard. Oh, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Scorpion King 2002?
no, I haven't got anything I want to say about Scorpion King 2 either.
Well,
you're stuck here.
Dig deep. Scorpion King 2, Rise of a Warrior came out in 2008. This was directed by Russell Mulcahy, who's director of some franchise films I'm sure we'll cover one day, including The Highlander and The Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Oh,
I've
seen Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Is it good?
No, it's famously one of the worst movies ever made.
He also directed Resident Evil Extinction, and he also directed a film in 1998 called Tale of the Mummy, which stars Christopher Lee.
Uh-oh.
And it's not. We haven't missed one. My heart skipped a beat when I saw this, but no, it's completely unrelated. It's just a movie about mummies, and they scored Christopher Lee for like a bit part in it as sort of a cute reference.
If you go on the page, it's like The Tale of the Mummy, also known as Russell Mulcahy's Tale of the Mummy, and like his name is like as big as the title on the poster. And it's like, I didn't realize Russell Mulcahy.
The guy from The Highlander. I guess The Highlander actually probably was. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, he directed a bunch of music videos as well. He did Hungry Like the Wolf and Rio for Duran Duran. He's actually done a fuckload of like very well-known music videos, to be fair.
Well, that
Video
makes
Killed
sense.
the Radio Star.
Oh, wow. Wow, maybe we should watch his Tale of the Mummy.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
What do you think the audience score is for this film?
46.
18. Way off. What are you doing? What is Scorpion King 2 Rise of a Warrior about?
After witnessing his father's brutal murder by the hand of the ruthless general Sargon, Mathias, the son of the famous Akkadian mercenary Ashur, returns to ancient Arcadia, hell-bent on revenge. As a powerful warrior of the elite Black Scorpion Guard, the would-be Scorpion King travels to the underworld along with his childhood friend Layla and the Greek poet Ari to retrieve the enchanted sword of Damocles from the dark goddess Astarte. Can Mathias thwart the hateful usurper Sargon's megalomaniac vision and avenge his father's death?
I like that you pronounced Matthias' father as Ashur, because that sounds very Egyptian. In the movie, they just say Asher.
Yeah, so this one, it's a prequel, and we've got a young dude who looks like Dylan and Cole Sprouse doing his best The Rock impression. And this isn't a Billy Zane, Arnold Vosloo situation. I can't imagine anyone else in the world thinks that these people look like that this guy looks like the Sprouse twins, but I found it distracting. And especially
he looks a little bit like a young Dwayne Johnson as well.
I disagree.
I thought he looked enough like young Dwayne Johnson that I could be like, this guy grew up to be Mathias.
No,
absolutely.
I could not disagree more, but he does the face, he does the rocks.
And he looks like The Rock.
And yeah, it's very like, this is supposed to be the same character. Let's move on.
So what did you think of the movie?
Thought it was garbage. I said, fuck this garbage in my review, and I stand by that.
Mm-hmm. You were very upset messaging me about this because you watched it before me, and you were like, this is a new low. You were like, this is one of the worst films we've ever watched. And I was prepared to, I was getting prepared. I was like, oh my God, is the Scorpion King going to be is it going to beat Dungeons and Dragons as our lowest ranked franchise?
Honestly, I think it might.
I don't think it will. I am surprised that you disliked this so much. Now,
you're surprised I disliked the Scorpion King too.
Before I say anything else,
you sounded sane. Listen to yourself.
Before I say anything else, of course this is a terrible film. Of course it is.
But Richard, you have horrible taste.
No, I'm saying that I reckon this is about as good as these straight to DVD garbage sequels can get.
Yeah, sure, but it's fucking garbage, and it's one of the worst movies I've seen.
But all of Land Before Time is worse than this movie. Legally Blondes is worse than this movie. Half the Air Buddies movies are worse
this
than
is
this
a
movies.
1%. Like, you're trying to convince me as a 1.3.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to meet you on that.
I just think that it was very reminiscent in art direction and budget to like Xena Warrior Princess or Hercules.
I famously love those two TV shows.
No, I'm not. I've moved on. I'm explaining.
Oh, well,
why
I haven't.
This is what I imagine those low budget New Zealand film shows were like. I actually would have rather the original film had this plot as well. I think this is a better idea.
The murdered father.
And going to the underworld
Not
and stuff like
stealing a woman's virginity.
No, yeah, exactly. I would rather Dwayne Johnson starred in this, and this was our Scorpion King.
And it features
prequel.
a lot more scorpions as well.
Exactly. And I think,
and also also the Sword of Damocles is a cool MacGuffin as well, like a cool idea for a MacGuffin.
Yeah. I actually ranked this above the first film, and also therefore, if I ranked it above the first film, I also ranked it above Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which is such an indictment on Tomb of the Dragon Emperor that the straight to DVD film made to promote Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, I think, is a better film.
Oh yeah, because this came out in 2008 as well, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is presumably why it was made so long after.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is, but like it's got a better plot than the first one. Yeah, but it's fucking garbage, and I hated it. Sorry about it.
Did you not feel like having?
Was I not entertained?
I'm thinking of Gladiator, which we also just watched. Sorry.
Richard the Scorpion King 2: Rise of a Warrior won Best Picture. Were you not entranced by Ridley Scott's direction of The Scorpion King 2: Rise of a Warrior?
As someone who's worked in television and like pretty like scrappy kind of low budget TV as well, were you not charmed by when they go to the underworld and it's a pretty cool set and it looks all right? Like I found this film scrappy, I guess. And
I might have found it scrappy 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm fucking
right. This is a culmination of all the bad movies.
Fuck sword and sandal bullshit. Like, I hate it, man.
Wow.
This actually like might be my least favorite genre. Now that I'm thinking about it, talking about it is making me dislike Gladiator more. And Jason and the Argonauts, once a movie that I was like, I'd never seen it, but I was always like, Ray Harryhausen's effects are pretty cool. And even though it's allegedly not that great, I've been meaning to check it out. But it's a classic sword and sandal piece, and could not give a fuck. Like, and wow. Hercules, Xena Warrior Princess, Dungeons and Dragons, like there's something about this genre, and Game of Thrones, I'm lumping them all in together. They're all stupid.
Lord of the Rings?
Yep.
Wow. I don't know. I guess I just found it oddly charming. I rated it 2 stars, but I liked it. I hit the heart button. I just thought it was fun.
You love that heart button.
I love that.
If that heart button had a smaller heart button, you would click
it. Never speak to me or my son ever again. So I thought Ari, who's the Greek poet, I think he's easily the series' most interesting companion. He joins the crew because, well, he knows how to get to the underworld, but he also wants to join the crew because he wants exclusive scribe rights to the Scorpion King story. I thought it was a fun performance and a fun character motivation. So I liked him. I thought out of all the people who join Mathias over these movies, he was the one that wasn't the same as every other character that joins Mathias over the course of these movies.
Yeah, I kind of like the guy in the third one a bit more. Well, not necessarily more, but yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's fair. There's a minotaur in this film. They go to the labyrinth, and as they're talking about a minotaur, I'm sitting there like, how are they gonna have a minotaur in this movie? And they film it in a way where it's like quick flashes of, I think, sort of a mixture maybe of CGI and practical effects.
And an actual minotaur.
Yeah. And again, it's like, that's scrappy. That's like, we don't have the budget, so don't show it. Jaws rules, you know, like, show it sparingly. And I just thought it kind of worked. And well done. This movie is as good as it could have been on the budget at hand, I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, probably.
And for that, I commend it.
It would have been smarter to just donate that money to charity, and not make a movie. Honestly, if you made this movie to promote Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, just buy tickets to it with the budget.
I controversially think every single movie ever made should have probably donated the money to charity.
I
would
think
say
you
that's
do.
true of every film. I believe it in theory.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's only, I guess, it's only in more recent years that you've kind of come to care about things.
Oh, fuck like you! That. At least I've come to care about things.
Yeah.
One area of this movie I think we can meet in the middle on, though, is this movie, the villain, well, it does suck, but the villain is played by UFC star Randy Couture, who is so fucking bad in this movie. It's very funny. He cannot deliver a line of dialogue without sounding like he's reading it. This is, of course, our second franchise to have featured Randy Couture as he plays Toll Road in the Expendables trilogy, where I do not remember him being anywhere near this terrible.
Yeah.
He didn't stand out,
at least.
Yeah, go look up Randy Couture from Scorpion King 2 on YouTube. Watch clips of him. I don't know how to explain it. He's so bad at delivering any line of dialogue. It's so funny that they cast him in this. At the end, he gets a tattoo of like a scorpion on his scalp, and it just looks like he's got a comb over. I thought that. Yeah, and he actually the final boss form as he fights Mathias is a scorpion, and I was like, oh shit, are they going to reference the famously bad CGI version of the Scorpion King from the end of The Mummy Returns? But it was just a big CGI scorpion, which I thought was a shame because I would have kind of liked the interconnectivity plot of having Randy Couture, another person in the pro wrestler scene, have his face superimposed on a giant scorpion. That would be fun. But yeah, as it stands, Couture is easily the worst performance in what I'm dubbing the ancient Mesopotamian pro wrestler universe, where it's just like regular ancient times, but everyone's a pro wrestler.
Yeah, sure. And he's not the last one we'll see as well.
No, it's certainly not. That's what I mean. It's like there's a whole cast of them, and I feel like I made this up because every time I've gone to try and prove it, I haven't been able to find the words on any Wikipedia page or whatever. But like, did the WWE, or I don't even know if the WWE and like MMA are connected officially.
No.
But there's these franchises that like are co-opted by these groups, you know, like Surf's Up 2 has a bunch of wrestlers in it, and the Kindergarten Cop 2 has a bunch of wrestlers in it, and like, is this one of them, or does the fact that The Rock was in the first one mean it was always one of these franchises?
Well, yeah, so like WWE Studios is like a production company, so
right.
They are connected in the sense that they're made by the same production company. And yeah, you see a lot of franchises in here as well. Yeah, like like you mentioned, Surf's Up 2, Wave Mania, Jingle All the Way 2 was one.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, just having a quick glance.
With famous pro wrestler Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, does it have like a pro wrestler in it? Santino Marella.
I always thought Larry the Cable Guy was like a joke wrestler.
Right, yeah.
That was the first thing I ever saw him in, and I was like, he must be like a dud wrestler that, you know, you buy one of the PlayStation 1 games and you're like, I want to be Larry the Cable Guy.
Get her done. Get her done. Like when you knock them down and you insult them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another reason that I like this film more than the first film is there's a lot more connective tissue to the Mummy universe. The first film feels like it's the Scorpion King, an actor in name only, but like in this movie, the staff of Osiris is mentioned by name, and its powers are elaborated on.
Man, how'd they manage to get the staff of Osiris?
Mentioned by name. It's not actually in it. But this connective tissue is certainly more significant in the next film, Richard, The Scorpion King 3 Quest for Power in 2012, which was directed by Roel Rhine, who directed Death Race 2 and 3.
Excuse me. Scorpion King 3 is called Battle for Redemption.
Oh my god! I've mixed them up. Oh my god! That's so funny! Scorpion King 3 Battle for... I gotta change... That's so funny! Oh my god! This is the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah.
I've mixed up titles. What have I become? I've mixed it up twice. That's just how little I checked. Oh, wow. I mean, the titles are pretty interchangeable, so... yeah. Wow, I'm flabbergasted. Do you want to take a guess at what the audience score is while I recompose myself?
It'd be like mid-teens.
Yeah, exactly. It's 15.
Yeah.
Which is the lowest one so far. And what is this movie about?
I've actually written it down.
Oh.
In the aftermath of a deadly plague after the events of the Scorpion King 2002, the former Akkadian Scorpion King Mathias finds himself working as a mercenary hired by the King of Egypt, Horus, as Horus's ruthless younger brother Talus, played by the Mummy's Billy Zane, is after the mystical Book of the Dead to summon an invincible army of ghost warriors. Mathias and his Germanic brother-in-arms Olaf embark on a dangerous mission. Getting tongue-tied over here.
It's a complicated movie.
Embark on a dangerous mission to rescue the daughter of an important ally, the beautiful Princess Silda. However, an army of mysterious ninja warriors, known only as Cobra, have already set their sights on capturing the helpless royal daughter. Will Mathias ever regain his throne as the one and only Scorpion King? Yeah, I forgot.
Will it happen?
I forgot there was ninjas in this film.
Yeah, man.
Pretty crazy.
Sick.
Yeah, bro.
What did you think of this one?
This is probably my favorite one. Like it was fucking garbage. It was like I hated every second of watching it. There was no bright spots at all.
But it's your
0 out of 10 stars.
Yeah, I'm just barely hanging on by this point. I don't think I'm able to critically evaluate the next 3 films.
Yeah, I also watched like 3 and 4 back to back, and then I watched 5 and finished like 2 minutes to 12 today, and I was like, yes, I managed to finish like 2 minutes before I'm going to start recording with my buddy AJ, who knows we're recording in 2 minutes and will have gotten up.
You could have messaged me earlier in the day.
I did, and you didn't reply.
No, you messaged me at...
I messaged you a very fun fact, actually, but that relates to the Mummy, which I discovered. That so there's like a Mummy ride at Universal called the Mummy's Revenge, and it won Best Indoor Roller Coaster at the Golden Ticket Awards so many times that they just retired that category and gave like an honorary, like a lifetime achievement award to that ride. And it pretty much said, like, as long as this is running, nothing's going to beat it. So let's not even bother with this category.
Wow, that's the dream.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I like how it won the Golden Ticket Award.
Yeah, makes me think of that's their
Charlie
Oscars.
and the Chocolate Factory. So I always thought that this film and the Scorpion King franchise was like 4/5 prequel. I always thought that because they couldn't get The Rock back, they started a new timeline earlier in the timeline.
Yeah, so did I. I thought that 3, 4, and 5 was set between 2 and 1.
Yeah,
and do you know when I found out that wasn't the case?
When?
This morning.
Okay, you didn't.
I was just like,
notice the actor was the same age roughly as The Rock, and
I was just like, it's weird that like, and I was like, I thought he doesn't become the Scorpion King yet. Why do they keep calling him the Scorpion King? And that was when I worked it out.
This is set after the first film, and The Rock is replaced with a guy named Victor Webster plays Mathias, in this and the next film. This is just I thought it was very weird to hear events from the Scorpion King, which at the time was 10 years old, relayed in this movie. They talk specifically about the named characters and stuff, because it's like it's relayed so meticulously, like this is a revered canon, like this is a revered timeline, and it's like no one gives a shit about the Scorpion King. I probably wouldn't have noticed if the continuity wasn't preserved,
Yeah,
but it is for.
So Victor Webster's in Endgame.
Who's he play?
And that's right. In Dead Rising Endgame, he plays Chuck Green. Do you know who else is in that movie?
Chuck Green's the main character in Dead Rising Endgame.
Billy Zane is also in that film. And also, funnily enough, that it's called Dead Rising Endgame, there's a woman named Marie Avgeropoulos, which if you just add 2 letters to, it says Avengeropolis, which could have been an alternate title for Endgame.
Wow. Well, you've already touched on it, Richard, but probably the most significant talking point of this film is its background cast. We have Ron Perlman join the crew, who was recently cast as Optimus Primal in the new Transformers movie. And everyone's like, holy shit! And I'm like, this dude was in the Scorpion King 3. I don't think it's a big get to get Ron Perlman in your film. Temuera Morrison is also in this film.
Say his full name.
Temuera, please stop casting me in things Morrison, though he's not especially standout as bad in this movie.
Yeah, because the whole movie's so bad.
I'm saying Temuera Morrison rises above
on par with
straight to DVD acting. And guys, you're not going to believe this, but the actual Billy Zane joins the cast, which is so funny. We did not know this when we recorded the episode last week where you went on and on about how you thought Billy Zane played Imhotep because Arnold Vosloo and Billy Zane share a passing resemblance. Not as much as the kid from Scorpion King 2 and The Rock, I think, but certainly I can certainly see what you're talking about.
That's a fucked thing to say!
And Billy Zane joining this movie, I'm sure you're not the only person to have made the Arnold Vosloo comparison before.
Yeah, if you Google Arnold Vosloo, it autofills Billy Zane,
which leads you to question is any of this part of why he was cast in this movie? Is Billy Zane in this, or did people talk about it on set? Or does Billy Zane not even know that the Scorpion King 3 is set in the Mummy universe? That's also
if you type in "did Billy Z" into Google, it says "did Billy Zane play the Mummy?"
There you go.
But it's also probably just been listening to me.
But very funny to the funniest person who could show up in the series after last week.
But only for this podcast.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So also joining the cast is the still then pro wrestler Dave Bautista, along with mixed martial artist Kimbo Slice. So we're keeping the mixed martial arts and pro wrestling universe well pumped.
This was
Batista's in this.
Yeah, it's not his very first role, but very early on.
And it's just funny watching a movie like this and being like, you'll never guess, but that guy's the best actor here. A relatively unremarkable performance given by him.
And also, he shows up so late in the film as well that I was like, have I not recognized Batista?
Yeah. So of note as well is that the main MacGuffin in this film is the Book of the Dead making its first appearance since The Mummy Returns, which I thought was, again, it's fun to see it actually be set in the same universe. And it's used in approximately the same way in that they use the Book of the Dead to command the soldiers of the undead. But It is weird in this movie. Like in The Mummy, the soldiers of the undead are like all mummies themselves and, sort of like mindless zombie skeletons, kind of brain dead. But this is the people that are controlled by the Book of the Dead in this movie is Dave Bautista and Kimbo Slice, among others. And it's very like I don't quite understand the mystique now, because when it's just mindless zombies, I'm like, yeah, you're controlling, it's an enchantment. But when they're like people who still appear to have agency, it's like, surely the magic is not so strong that you're just like, well, yeah, gotta do this. Like Batista essentially wants to join the heroes by the end of the film. And like as he's about to kill one of the main characters off order of the book, he's like, you were a worthy adversary. But he's like, well, I gotta do what the book says, and they manage to break it before he kills anyone. But yeah, I don't know, I just thought that it was cool to use something from the original series in this.
Fuck, Batista's good, eh?
Yeah.
Did
Not
you see
specifically in this, but
did you see the thing the other day? Again, actually ties in, but that like John Cena and The Rock have said, oh, they'd love to do a film together, and then someone tweeted it and said like, get Dave Bautista, Dave Bautista in there as well, and Bautista replied and said, I'm good.
It's so funny how like he just refuses to play Hollywood with everyone else.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
when James Gunn was fired and he was like, Disney's fucked up. It's like, don't, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah. I mean, good on him. I mean, who's going to fucking tell him
exactly.
No,
Exactly. Here is the final paragraph on the Wikipedia plot summary of Scorpion King 3 Battle for Redemption. It says, during the credits, it's revealed Mathias and Silda shared a kiss on the night of their earlier party, though Silda appears to leave the prospects of a relationship with him behind as she bestows him the artifact which could one day be used to contact Anubis. While Mathias may still have a while before deciding to lead his people on his fated quest to take over the known world, his destiny is now more clear than ever in the subtly more militant stance he has taken compared to where he was at the end of the prior original film, with Book of the Dead left intact for the subsequent events in The Mummy Returns and the Scorpion King's own journey paved for the opening sequence of The Mummy Returns. Very interesting to read something written by someone who's clearly very passionate about the series. And I think it did make me think of like, there is an interesting idea in watching like a Breaking Bad-esque storyline of a once noble Mathias falling from grace to become the notorious like villain
Skorky.
that the Scorpion King is, the Skorky, that we see in The Mummy Returns. But the movies don't seem to be aware that they could do this. Like, this paragraph is written like it's all very intentional. I can't remember what movie it is in, but I think there is one line where he like questions something about like power corrupting great leaders, and it's kind of like, oh, that's going to happen to him. But it feels like that's, if these movies cared about the connective tissue between them, they could actually maybe be quite interesting. And it doesn't need to be 5 movies, but it could maybe be 1 movie of the Scorpion King slowly becoming a tyrant, like why? Yeah, I don't know. I just think that's interesting that they didn't click on to doing that.
Next film.
The Scorpion King 4, The Quest for Power, came out in 2015. This was directed by a man we've shared an email chain with, Mike Elliott. This makes The Scorpion King our third mostly straight-to-DVD franchise to feature a film directed by Mike Elliott, who directed Beethoven's Big Break and American Pie Presents Girls' Rules, which is a very important film to Cole Popsher.
The other thing that kind of like I kind of noticed while watching this as well is that like all 3 of those franchises as well have mostly unrelated to each other DVD sequels, but have 2 that are more connected. So in this one we 2
see in a row in the middle. Yeah.
Usually like it's a role not being recast, whereas every other time
at the very least. Yeah. So Beethoven's 3rd and Beethoven's 4th share a cast. They also share a director who we've interviewed. American Pie Presents The Naked Mile and American Pie Presents Beta House are right next to each other in the middle and share.
They have the same Stifler.
No, they share the full cast.
Yeah.
And the Scorpion King 3 and 4 share Victor Webster as Mathias, which is the only actor of the four to play the Scorpion King in two separate roles in Scorpion King films.
Yeah.
Mike Elliott also, for what it's worth, produced Bring It On worldwide #CheerSmack. And yeah, this is probably one of our crazier randomly placed use of statistics. You touched on it there, but I'll just to say it in a full sentence. The Scorpion King is our third mostly straight to DVD franchise to feature one film directed by Mike Elliott, as well as including two films in a row in the middle of the series which share the same core cast who don't return for later films and weren't in previous films. Love it.
If we somehow land Blue Crush and Blue Crush 2,
yes.
Then we've done his entire filmography.
Correct, yeah. This has 21% audience score, so higher than the previous two.
Yeah.
And what is it about?
And I probably enjoyed this one more than the other two, to be honest.
You said the third was your favourite.
Who cares?
Make up your fucking mind, bro! I need you to be direct on this.
Double-crossed by a good friend during a dangerous quest to retrieve the Urn of Kings, a rare artifact that unleashes the ancient power of the sorcerer Lord Alchemon. Mathias, that's such a weirdly structured sentence. Mathias sets out on a journey to the kingdom of Norvania to deliver a peace treaty. Instead, the Akkadian warrior finds himself wrongfully accused of murder, with the soldiers of an entire kingdom after him. Now Mathias must rely on his skills and his only allies, the fellow prisoner Velina and her inventor father Sorrel, to escape from the hostile realm in one piece. Is the Scorpion King capable of stopping the Dark Warlock's magical force? Another thing that this has in common with other films we've covered is Barry Bostwick's big fucking head.
I thought his head didn't look as big in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty checked out by the franchise by this point. I don't feel it aggressively beating me down like I did with like Land Before Time, but it's mind-numbing, which is not a good thing either.
My mind is completely numb.
Do you have any other...
Anything else I want to say about it? No, let's move on. Yeah. No, I like this introduces a lot of like humor as well. I don't know, like introduces, but like it has like dumber humor, I think. In the like the doddering old inventor man, it's almost slapstick and. It's weird. It's one of those things like Rebel Wilson and James Corden and Cats, where it's like, in any other film, this would be the worst part, but it's a welcome breath of fresh air because the rest of the movie is such a fever dream.
Yeah. So Barry Bostwick, for those who aren't familiar with our podcast, we've seen him before in Bigger, Fatter, Liar and American Pie Presents Girls Rules, but also joining the cast and taking front and center on the film's DVD cover is Lou Ferrigno, who shows up at the start for a total of maybe 6 to 7 minutes, but was clearly the biggest get, because boy does that poster make him look like he is the Scorpion King himself.
Yeah, and it's weird because you also have like Rutger Hauer and Emmett Walsh.
And Michael Biehn as well.
Yeah, who are both like who are familiar faces. Michael Biehn, what do I know? Oh, he's Kyle Reese, right?
Yeah. We've also got WWE's Eve Torres, who is joined by other people you'd call familiar faces if you're into MMA, such as Roy Nelson, Antonio Bigfoot Silva, and Don Wilson.
Sure.
This film also stars a reoccurring bumbling villain character played by Brandon Hardesty of the YouTube series No Small Parts, making The Scorpion King our second spin-off series to feature Brandon Hardesty in the fourth film.
Yeah.
As he was one of the main characters in American Pie Presents The Book of Love. I love our little statistics. I can't believe we ever retired them. That's all this episode was worth. It's useful.
Is it Hardesty? Wouldn't it be? Surely it would be Hardesty.
I don't know. Hardesty.
Hardesty just feels silly.
Oh, really? I think Hardesty's the bigger stretch. That's not how I pronounce any word at all.
All right, I'm gonna. Yeah. Why would you pronounce other words like that?
What are your thoughts on Victor Webster as Mathias? Where do you think he ranks as the actors who we've seen portray the Scorpion King so far?
Oh, he's the Kane Hodder of the franchise.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What
Does
do you
that
want
mean
me to say?
I don't know. There's a scene in this movie I posted on Instagram where they tumble down a mountain and it's pulled right out of like Hot Shots, and the female character has a GoPro, and a lot of it is very clearly filmed on a GoPro.
Oh God, yes.
Very silly. And IMDb lists this movie as The Scorpion King: The Lost Throne. It still lists it as that. So no wonder I'm getting the title mixed up. And I've got one piece of dumb IMDb trivia for this film. There is a scene during the credits.
Ooh.
What is it? Not telling.
He's relieved from his service to King Zakua, who allowed him to stay with Queen Valina in her service. Valina and Mathias share a kiss as Gorak and Chinkara are also present at dinner. Underlying it. Yeah, we glossed over it just then, but yeah, the GoPro stuff. My God.
So, Hobbit flashbacks. Our second franchise to have a sequel franchise within the franchise, a prequel franchise within the franchise, to have an ill-advised use of GoPro after the Hobbit. Richard, talking for the Scorpion King for Quest for Power for about the same time as Lou Ferrigno is in the movie. I have nothing else to say about this film.
Let's move on. I've got places to be.
All right, The Scorpion King, Book of Souls, 7 minutes, 49 seconds might be a record for the shortest we've ever.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Okay. The Scorpion King Book of Souls came out in 2018. Why not? It was directed by Don Michael Paul, who directed Kindergarten Cop 2, Jarhead 2, Death Race 4, and Tremors 5, 6, and 7, as well as a myriad of other sequels and long-running straight-to-DVD franchises. What do you think the audience score is for this film?
11.
Richard, this has a 79% audience score, which beats The Mummy 1999 with its 75% audience score, making it the best movie in the Stephen Sommers universe, according to audiences.
That's so funny.
It's a lot of reviews as well. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
What is this movie about?
All right. So, in ancient Egypt, the mighty warlord Nebseric steals the fabled fang of Anubis, a cursed sword imbued with the power of hell and the strength of its countless victims, intent on creating his evil empire. As the ruthless monarch burns down to the ground a small village, the wounded Akkadian mercenary Mathias joins forces with the Nubian princess Tala to embark on a long and dangerous quest to find the mystical Book of Souls. The only thing that can be put into Nebseric's tyranny. Will the legendary Scorpion King bring hope and restore peace? Spoiler alert, the Book of Souls is a person and she's fucking sexy. That's part of the plot. That's not me saying that.
Oh, you can still say that.
No, I don't think she is. She's gross, bro.
Zach Mcgowan plays Mathias in this film. Any thoughts on his performance? Is he better or worse than the others?
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty inoffensive film. I thought there was some mildly fun stuff and nothing that pissed me off more than it bored me.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny how each film in this series, though, ends with some kind of narration saying, but his legacy will be remembered as he one day becomes the Scorpion King. And then each sequel is basically like, but first, he did this. Like, they all end like they're the last one.
Yeah.
Tala, who is the female lead in the film, the warrior princess, explains she is Balthazar's daughter, meaning Michael Clarke Duncan's character from the first film is her father. He's said to have died against the big villain in this film, which is whatever. But then later in the film, we see a flashback to Balthazar getting killed where he's been recast as some guy. But he has the same funny haircut that Michael Clarke Duncan has. in the original film, which is relevant because it's a funny haircut. But yeah, this is another example of like how weird it is to see canon of forgettable movies maintained. Like, it reminds me how when we watched the Fright Night series, how by the time you get to the final Fright Night movie, 4 movies, which only one of them is a sequel and the other 3 are the same movie being told differently. It's crazy to get to Fright Night 2, as in the fourth one, and see this like obscure set of names and characterizations being like in new and interesting subverted ways.
Yeah,
and it's
Jerry,
like, no one
with an
knows.
eye.
Yeah. No one knows who these people are, and you're subverting like as if they were classic Shakespeare roles. You're like, oh, I can't wait to see yada yada yada's take on Othello.
Jerry Dandridge.
Yeah. From what I can tell, though, the only pro wrestler in this film is Australian Nathan Jones, who plays Enkidu, who is an actual figure in Mesopotamian mythology and was considered the first literary representation of a wild man. In this, he is a rock golem with an Australian accent, making the Scorpion King our second franchise within a franchise after Thor in the MCU to feature a big rock monster man with a trans-Tasman accent, and he punches a horse in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, I missed one of my favorite moments in. It must have been 4.
Oh, we're going back. We're adding to the clock of how long we've talked about.
But maybe it was in 3. But the bad guy punches a little kid and then stabs an old man, and it's like it's
runs the gamut.
Yeah, like it literally is like, all right, how do we show this guy's evil? And then so because it's one of these like he's giving a speech and everyone's surrounding him, and then he just like takes this little kid, and this old man's like, you can't do that, and he stabs the old man, and it's like one of the most evil 1-2 punches ever put to film.
Do you have anything else to say about Book of Souls? Any other thoughts? We are in a time limit, but also I'm genuinely I haven't cut anything.
Yeah, I mean, we could have spoken longer if you bloody got up on time, but
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know what we would have spoken about.
Yeah.
There's no IMDb trivia. There's nothing else to talk about. I couldn't even find, and I looked, I couldn't even find any of that information I always want to know about straight to DVD sequels of like, why this one?
Yeah.
Why the Scorpion King? Who's hanging out for a new Scorpion King movie?
Yeah. And because you assume that like these kind of things died. Like, but 2018 is insane. It's after we started the podcast.
Yeah.
But I did. What did you think of like the fact that it's the whole like, I'd advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its enemies. That it's essentially
true, because
Katana from Suicide Squad. But it's 2 years after that.
Wow. So the Book of Souls, who's a woman, has the souls of all the men her father murdered written on her body. And I thought it was shit how the only way to break the curse or whatever it is to kill her. It felt very strange that like... I don't know,
she wasn't a virgin anymore though, so she was just expendable.
Legitimately, it's in the same ilk as that of it being like, yeah, you can just kill off the disposable lady character. Yeah. Didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's move on, Richard, to continue the franchise.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've finished talking about them film to film. Let's talk about continue the franchise.
Just quickly, though, on titles as well, specifically the fifth one. The fifth one drops the numeral.
That's true,
as well.
Yep. Which I didn't like. Just keep it at that point.
Yeah.
Or drop it earlier.
Yeah.
Or don't never have numerals. These aren't films that feel right with numerals.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where we're going to pitch our own continuation of the franchise. But before that, the only thing that still exists in this universe that is of interest are 2 tie-in video games, which released alongside the first film. They are called The Scorpion King Sword of Osiris on the Game Boy Advanced and The Scorpion King Rise of the Akkadian on GameCube and PS2. Both games were released in 2002. Sword of Osiris on GBA was a direct sequel in which a wizard named Menthu and a witch named Isis kidnap the mythology Mathias' sorceress bride Cassandra and use her powers to awaken the dunes of Natash and unleash a 1,000-year desert storm upon Egypt, which sounds a lot interesting. That'll be on the Game Boy Advance, so in like shitty graphics and.
I did also find out though that there's. Have you heard about The Mummy Demastered?
No, what's that?
It's a video game based on the 2017 film, and it's a Metroidvania style video game. It's like Hollow Knight's another kind of example, cross between Metroid and Castlevania. It's done in like that old school retro Metroid style art. So and that's why it's called Demastered, because it's like we're taking it back to like pixel art. Apparently it's real good, and like all the reviews are like it's way fucking better than the film.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for anyone interested, Rise of the Akkadian on GameCube and PS2 was a prequel, and the story involved Mathias being sent by the Akkadian king to assassinate the Lord of Kemet after he kills one of the Akkadian king's concubines. Outside of this, though, it's a fair bet that we won't see any more straight-to-DVD sequels in the Scorpion King series, because, for some reason, in November 2020, a reboot of the Scorpion King film series was announced to be in development. Straight out of Compton, screenwriter Jonathan Herman is serving as screenwriter, with Dwayne Johnson producing. The plot will reportedly be taking place in modern day and involving a contemporary adaptation of the Mathias / Scorpion King story. This is what Dwayne Johnson said about it in the press release. The Scorpion King was my very first role ever on the silver screen, and I'm honored and excited to reimagine and deliver this cool mythology to a whole new generation. I wouldn't have had the career I'm lucky enough to have had it not been for the Scorpion King, and I'm thrilled that we at $7 Productions can help create those same opportunities for those other hard-working actors today. I believe Jonathan Herman will put in the hard work and deliver a fantastic script for our global audience. Very academic.
That's the way he talks about everything.
Every film he's ever made, So this has got to be the most out of left field reboot I've ever heard of. the Scorpion King. It's such a strange thing to even vocalize. I wonder if it will pull a Star Wars sequels and like rewrite the canon. Like the straight to DVD sequels will become known as like the legendary canon. What's your continue the franchise?
So it's a show. I didn't actually know the modern day thing in the reboot, but it sounds like they're not doing exactly this idea. But I think I've kind of realized the only way I can enjoy this kind of sword and sandal fantasy movie would be if you do essentially my pitch for Pirates of the Caribbean, that it's let's have the Scorpion King. You can even bring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson back, but like have him, because he's immortal or whatever, just have him show up now. And it's just a fish out of water movie about the Scorpion King. He doesn't have to be part scorpion, but that's the only way I can stomach watching a fantasy movie, as if it's set in modern day and it's a fish out of water comedy.
Nice. I've got a more sort of bog standard one, which you don't need to give me anything. You can just say, "Yep, cool. We fulfilled the brief of continue the franchise."
All right, we always understand the assignment.
Yeah. The Scorpion King, the animated series. Like,
yep, cool.
This feels more like the series you make an animated series out of than The Mummy. Like, especially, you don't need The Rock, and you can base it off him, and it's the story of him, the rise of him becoming the Scorpion King.
Yeah, because also, like, I haven't seen the Mummy animated series, but the main characters are the O'Connells, right? Or O'Connors, or whatever.
O'Connells.
Yeah, but they, it's like having to be like, oh, what's a new wacky thing they're going to run into again? But, like, the Scorpion King, like, by definition, he's going to, like, come up against all these different things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet. You gave me way more of that than I was expecting, and I thank you for it. Richard, rank that franchise. It's time to go over to letterboxd.com/cultpopture, where we have a list of all the franchises we've ever watched. We've watched 130 at this point, making the Scorpion King our 131st franchise. Let me pitch to you where it should rank. I think it should be placed at 128 between the Sex and the City movies and Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
I think it should be 131st.
I don't do you really think that? I think that Dungeons and Dragons is so much more aggressively bad that I would much rather watch The Scorpion King more than any Medea film again.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. I would much rather cap off Mamoon Mamolai with a new worst franchise.
What are you saying? Mamolai? What is that?
Like, they were like, well, let's do Mummy.
Right.
And but
Mummy July.
Yeah, but it's Mummy July and Mummy June, Mamoon and Malai.
I agree that it would be fun to do that, to crown a new worst, but I just don't think it's that bad. I think there's too much that was, like, pleasant in this, whereas something like Land Before Time, which is our 130th franchise ranked, is such an aggressive...
There's nothing as good as the lone dinosaur in this franchise, though.
That's a good point.
Let's put it 130th. It's because then in the last month or two, we've crowned a new second best and second worst, and then you've got the two like this is the kind of film that we are going to put last. Scorpion King.
Oh my god! I would just if someone was like, you're in hell for all eternity, you either have to watch one of the Scorpion King movies or any of the Medea movies for all eternity. I'm picking a Scorpion King movie.
I would so much rather watch Medea's Witness Protection with Eugene Levy in it.
Wow, that's true. All right, no, fine. You convinced me. So it's not as. So we're putting it 130th,
yeah.
not 131st.
Yeah.
Okay. It is the second worst franchise we've ever watched. That is a lot more than I thought we were going to give it. All right. And Richard, that brings us to the end of our little mummy thing
our
we've
little
been doing.
Stupid.
I've enjoyed spending the time with you. I've enjoyed adding the mummy compendium to my knowledge of film. I have not enjoyed most of the films, but that's okay. When does that ever happen? Richard, we usually do film franchise
I'll take it from
roulette.
Here. We normally do franchise roulette at this point, and I more than anyone, I'm the one who always wants to do franchise roulette. But we decided to do something a little bit different this week. Sometimes we tie into new releases if there's one coming out of the cinema, but at this point in time, we're currently presented with like it's a very rare opportunity to do something quite interesting with the podcast. So what we're going to be doing is
Hollywood has basically made a franchise built for our podcast. Thank you very much, Hollywood.
So what we're going to be doing is next week, next week we've got something special, but the week after that, on the next episode of Film Franchise Fortnights, we're going to be covering the Fear Street Trilogy, which is on Netflix. And the fun thing about this is, so it's a trilogy. Each film is set in a different time period. They're like horror films based on R.L. Stine novels, who made Goosebumps. But the first one was released Friday night, just gone. Next one comes out this Friday, and the third one comes out the following Friday. So they're released within a fortnight, essentially.
It's a film franchise fortnight.
Yeah, like it
We
is.
should sue them.
And so, the idea that we can tie into a current release, I'm forced to pace myself with these movies because of when they come out. I've already seen the first one. I get to relax for a week. And then... the other main thing, it's super easy to watch along at home for this franchise. They're all on Netflix, and they're all new releases. There'll be plenty of discussion going on about them, I'm sure. So, please watch along Fear Street 1994, Fear Street 1978, and Fear Street 1666 with us. And, come see us in 2 weeks for that. And then in 2 weeks' time, we will be revealing which film franchise we'll be covering after that. Which will be chosen by Patreon. And also, fun fact for those playing at home, because Fear Street will take us up to 597 films watched for this podcast. And so the 600th film will, unless we do a 2-film franchise, will most likely be in that following one. So keep that in mind when you head along to www.patreon.com/cultpopture in the next few days to suggest franchises for us to watch.
And speaking of www.patreon.com/cultpopture, that is where you can donate for as little as $1. You can help us choose which films to watch, help us tell us which films to watch, as well as a bunch of other rewards on there like exclusive podcasts and a movie club. And we also are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There we've got 2 YouTube channels, Cult Popture and Cult Popture again, one for the podcast and one for video essays. And we've also got a Discord. Come join the Discord. All of these are linked in the show notes. And stay tuned for after this music finishes and after we can put to bed the Mummy meta franchise that it is, we're going to answer one of your questions from the post-credit scene segment, which is yet another Patreon reward. Haku Machente, which is Scorpion King Egyptian for it's hot as hell. Nice. In here because I have my heater on and could not turn around to turn it off.
That's interesting because I'm freezing. Like I can't even I just wrote a message on my phone and my fingers aren't going properly. Hot. Yeah. So let's see ya. Bye.
Haku Machente. I think it's Haku. All right, hello everybody and welcome to the post-credits scene. This is a segment at the end of each episode where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in this, the post-credits scene. And Richard, what is our post-credits scene for this episode? Richard? Oh, he's gone. Sorry, everybody. Richard had to leave, so you're just left with little old AJ for ending what was a blockbuster marathon of film franchise Fortnights episodes with one of the people you've been listening to just disappeared from the show. But hey, them's the breaks. We didn't have time to record it any other time before the episode released, so you're just listening to me. But Richard once did one by himself, so now I'm stabilizing the scale by doing one by myself. And this one comes to us from Luke over on Patreon. Luke has asked, what are your guys' favorite activities and hobbies to do away from screens and electronics? Well, I can answer that Richard's is escape rooms, which is where he is right now. He went to go do an escape room, so that is his hobby outside of screens and electronics. For me, this is a much more difficult question to answer because most of my hobbies include a screen, even if it's not specifically movies. I hang out with my flatmates a lot and we play a lot of video games. We play a lot of Jackbox games, that sort of thing. They play a lot of board games, but I don't like board games. Whenever someone is explaining like a strategy board game to me, my brain just turns off. I can't comprehend what they're saying. The only strategy game I know how to play is Settlers of Catan, and that's because I just watched other people play it for like 2 years before I absorbed how to play and can play it now. But I mean I like Pictionary and Boulder Dash and I like games where you can be creative. I like games where you can answer trivia. I just don't like having to think strategy. I don't like thinking about how I'm going to overthrow Madagascar, like I'm just not good nor interested in that. I think if it doesn't feel like I'm flexing my creative muscles or getting dopamine hits for knowing the answers to pieces of trivia, I'm not interested in playing it. But outside of that, in terms of away from like the house, I love a good road trip. I love exploring. I love going on adventures with my friends. I can't drive, so it's very rarely something that I do so other than that, is podcasting a screen? I listen to podcasts. Is that a screen? I'm trying to think of other. This is really making me question who I am as a person. Am I just this joke of a guy that only watches movies? What else do I do? I like cooking. Well, no, I like being involved in cooking. I don't really like cooking myself, but I like cooking with friends, I guess. I like God. Oh my God, who am I? What's going on? Who have I become? I need Richard here to be my anchor. Without Richard making fun of me, I have to make fun of myself, and it just makes me sad. Doesn't make me sad when Richard does it. What are your guys' hobbies? Oh my god. Who am I?